Good day. I'm Joena Mae of Bacus. So today's video, I'm going to tackle my reporting about the self and the development of social world. The self and the development of social world. So how do children growing up become social beings? How do twins coming out from the same mother turn out to be terribly different when given up for adoptions? So may mga ganong cases, especially kung naghiwalay ang mga kambal, okay? So more than his givenness, personality, tendencies, and propensities among others, one is believed to be in active participation in the shaping of the self. Recent studies, however, indicate that men and women in their growth and development engage activity in the shaping of the self. So remember that theory of Erik Erikson. So in every stages of one's life, there is a conflict and it will affect the personality of one's person. So habang nagro-grow tayo and we experience different things and we understand different things, it affects our personality. The unending terrain of metamorphosis of the self is mediated by language. So language is both publicly shared and privately utilized symbol system is the site where the individual and the social make and remake each other. Okay? So remember, a language is not constant. So kada decade or kada millennium, nag-iiba ang language. Merong nababawasan or nadadagdagan. Okay? So, di ba mapapansin ninyo, ang mga lalom nga mga words, wala na kaayo ginagamit sa pagkakaroon. So, kung naalala nyo rin yung Jejemon, di ba? It is a language although it's a colloquial. But it is still a language. Pero over the years, nawala na, di ba? So, on the views of Med and Vygotsky, for them, the way that human persons develop is with the use of language, acquisition, and interaction with others. Okay? Through communication, we have views and also an exchange of beliefs and ideas. The way that we process information is normally a form of an internal dialogue in our head. So what is this internal dialogue? So should I do this or that? But if I do this, it will be like this. Don't I want the other option? So it is more on the conscious or conscious side of a person. So we create a cognitive and emotional development, and during our eldest, we always a mimicry or we copy of how it is done in the social world, in the external reality, where he is in both of them, as Mead and Vygotsky says, that human mind is something that is made, constitute through language as experienced in the external world and as encountered to the dialogues with others. Okay? So sometimes kung ano yung mga naririnig natin, yun din ang naano natin sa ating utak. For example, when your mother or father say something, a very bad thing, for example, napakabobo mo or napakagago mo, so over the years, tatatak yan sa utak mo at magiging ganon din ikaw. Okay, so kung sinasabihan ka ng bobo tapos yan ang naging dialogue or internal dialogue mo, syempre, ang mangyayari yan, ang action mo is yung pangbobo na din. Okay? Pero kung positive things naman ang naririnig mo or yung bang internal dialogue mo is positive. For example, napakatalino mo and you can do this. And then your way of seeing yourself or your self-esteem would be positive also. Okay? So, ayon kay Mead, this takes place as the other through languages and role play. A child conceptualizes his notion of self through these Can you notice how little children are fond of playing role play with their toys? So kung naalala ninyo yung mga bata pa kayo, mahilig kayo maglaro ng bahay-bahay, di ba? Ako si nanay, ikaw si tatay. So ganon ang mga role plays. Tapos parang meron kayong bahay, tapos nagluluto, nagwawalis, parang ganon, di ba? So that's the role play. Ayon naman kay Vygotsky, for his part, a child internalizes real-life dialogues that he has had with others, with his family, his primary caregiver, or his playmates. They apply this to their mental and practical problems along with the social and cultural infusions brought about by these said dialogues. So over the years, kung naging positive ang sinasabi ng pamilya natin, we would have a very functioning life. Okay? Tapos yung bang meron kang high self-esteem and self-confidence. However, if sometimes we are hurt by what our parents says, it really affects us of what we see now or what are we now. So can you notice how children eventually become what they watch? How children can easily adopt ways of cartoon character they are exposed. Okay? So, sinong mahilig dito manood ng cartoons nung mga bata pa sila? Majority, di ba? So, for example, ano ba yung paborito ninyong mga cartoon characters? Sa akin, mahilig ako kay Ash, yung sa Pokemon, kasi very positive ang kanyang behavior. And then, kumbaga, laban kung laban. So, ganon. And then I find myself na parang kinopya ko din yung character ni Ash, okay? But if you are in a very disruptive family and also you are exposed na into violence, it is somehow affecting your personality and affecting on what you see to other people. So, kung may napapansin kayo sa mga kasama ninyo or mga classmates before, so bakit kaya ganito negative thinking siya? Or ang sinasabi niya palagi is negative. Yung iba naman ay positive. Yung iba naman ay parang wala lang. So, it means that they have a different world to you. And also, they have a different dialogues or internal dialogues na iniisip. And that is why ang bawat tao is unique. And kung saan sila, dala nila yung internal dialogue na gikan sa ilang mga parents or to the loved ones nga nag-raise sa ilaha. So, self in families. So, apart from the anthropological and psychological basis for the relationship between the self and the social world, the sociological likewise struggle to understand the real connections between the two concepts. In doing so, sociologists focus on the different institutions and powers to play in the society. Among these, the most prominent is the family. So we remember the family is the basic unit of the society. So nandyan ang authority and also the following or the followers. While every child is born with certain givenness, disposition coming from his parents' genes, and general condition of life, the impact of one's family is still deemed as given in understanding the self. The kind of family that we are born in, the resources available to us, human, spiritual, economic, and the kind of development that we will certainly affect us. As we go through life, okay, if your family is religious, then you are also being a religious person. If your family likes to go in a very yung bang social na mga places, and then ikaw din, mahilig ka din sa mga social na mga bagay. Human person learn the way of living and therefore their self would by being in a family. So without a family, biologically, sociologically, a person may not even survive or become a human person. One is who is because of his family for the most part. So our family is our best social support, and sometimes they are the one our enemies. Okay? Sila jud ang number one nga mo kontra mo kuan sa atong mga dreams, or sila pod ang number one nga mo kalaban kung kinsa atong pilion. Or kung unsa atong kurso, mao gyud na sila. Now let's go with gender and the self. So another important aspect of the self is gender. Gender is one of those low side of the self that is subject to alteration, change, and development. We have seen in the past years how people fought hard for the right to express, validate, and assert their gender expression, especially on the LGBTQ community. Okay? I know may mga classmates akong under sa LGBTQ. So, di ba ako ma-observe sa social media, grabe ilang fight and also grabe ilang express diha. They want to have rights. Okay? So, the one thing that we could do is to respect them. Dadak, dadako naman tayo sa self. In contemporary literature, and even common sense is commonly defined by the following characteristics: separate, self-contained, independent, consistent, unitary, and private. Self, it is meant that the self is distinct from one other selves. The self is always unique and has its own identity. One cannot be another person. Even twins are distinct from each other. We have our own uniqueness. Another is self is also self-contained and independent because in itself it can exist. Its distinctness allows it to be self-contained with its own thoughts, characteristics, and volition. We have our own characteristics that is unique to other people, and it does not require any other self for it to exist. And the last one is the self is private. Each person sorts out information, feelings, and emotions and thoughts processes within the self. You create your own world, and that world is only within you. Suggests that the self is isolated from the external world, it lies with its world. So our selves can construct. We have a social constructionist, or we are constructivist. Argue from a merged view of the person and their social context where the boundaries of one cannot easily be separated from the boundaries of other. So your boundaries will end on the beginning of the boundaries of other people. Argue that the self should not be seen as a static entity that stays constant, true and true. Rather, the self has to be seen as something that is in unceasing flux, in a constant struggle with external reality, and is malleable in its dealing with the society. So everyone is unique and has its own way of understanding the things around him. We ourselves play different rules in different ways depending on our circumstances. The self is capable of morphing and fitting itself into any circumstances it finds itself in. Like for example, ang palibot mo ay mahilig sa mga Korean novela, so ikaw din nag-a-adjust din na ikaw ay mahilig din sa Korean novela. But you have your own taste of Korean novela. Mahilig ka sa ganitong celebrity, tapos ayaw mo sa ganitong celebrity. So that's why you have a constructivist ability. The self and culture. So sabi nga ni French anthropologist Marshall Mauss that remaining the same person and turning chameleon by adapting to one's context seems paradoxical. But our self has two faces. First is person and then moi. So when we say person is composed of the social concept, what it means to be who he is. For example, ano nga ba ang Filipino? Ano nga ba ang identity ng being a Filipino? Has much to do with what it means to live in a particular institution, a particular family, a particular religion, a particular nationality, and how to behave given expectation and influences from others. Nimos, another phase is the moi, refers to a person's sense of who he is, his body, and his basic identity. His biological givenness is a person's basic identity. So moi, it means that who you are, what you believe, what you see the world. So that is the unique of you. So another within the culture, which is language. So, language is another interesting aspect of social constructivism. So, it is composed of constructivist ideas, beliefs, and characters. It has something to do with culture. It is salient part of culture and ultimately has a tremendous effect in crafting of the self. If self is born in a particular society or who culture, the self will have to adjust according to its exposure. So sa Filipino naman na setting, 'di ba meron tayong pag-uugali na kailangang magrespeto sa nakakatanda at gumamit ng salitang po at opo. Pero sa ibang bansa walang ganun. So meron din tayong tinatawag na culture shocks. So kaya naman pag nandun tayo sa ibang bansa, kailangan i-adapt natin yung culture nila or para hindi ka maging ibang tao o iba sa kanila. So ganun ang bawat isa, kayang makapag-construct kung ano yung views niya sa world or maka-adapt sa isang society. So language is very important because it is a reflection of the culture. So that's all my reporting. Thank you.